Now, I don't think it would be a Call of Duty update without stealth changes, things added under the radar, or inadvertently changed that we weren't notified in the patch notes of. Season 3 continues that long-standing trend and tradition, so in this one, we're breaking down the 24 changes that were made as a result of Season 3 that were not communicated, some good, some bad, and just some straight up weird. But as we go along, drop your thoughts down below on what you think of some of these stealth changes. Like them, dislike them, whatever the case, drop your thoughts below, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and anything COD related, as well as some more FPS content upcoming. Finally, make sure to check out my friends over at Gamer Advantage for the best blue light glasses on the market, but more on them in a bit. For now, let's take a look at the Season 3 stealth changes Infinity Ward did not tell you about. So let's start simple with some of the more basic things. We of course have a new main menu and background screen. That's something you notice immediately when you jump into the game and load it up, but it's inconsequential to the gameplay itself. We also have a new audio track going in the background, which I don't quite recognize from the main OST for Modern Warfare 2, but I could be entirely wrong on that one. It's been a while since I've listened to it, but pretty cool if you notice that. You have music up. There's also a new muted icon on PC for a microphone if you disconnect from your chat channel. So that's something that previously it would tell you and give you that banner notification that you muted your mic or you disconnected from the chat channel, but it didn't actually show you if you maybe accidentally disconnected and you didn't know. So now there will always be that present icon for when you are muted as well. But moving on over into user interface changes, we actually saw a decent number of these. One of the bigger ones here that I actually really enjoy is the new DMZ weapons case tab added to the challenges UI. This is something that alongside your now weapons, operators, calling cards, you now have the DMZ weapon case challenges listed so that you can see not only just what you have available from Al Mazrah, Building 21, and Ashika Island, what you've already completed, but also shows all of the rewards that you can end up getting along the way. So it's now no longer like a guessing game or you have to look up tutorials on YouTube to see what each case ends up earning. It'll now show you right up front. So definitely a big fan of that change here, just simply making the rewards readily available, and they're not necessarily so much a mystery now at this point. You can just check them out whenever you want. Now, along the way of finding your way to that in the UI, you may also notice that in the challenges section, there is the unlock challenges, daily challenges, and now a recruit a friend tab in regards to those challenges. It's kind of weird to me that they have the challenges as a recruit a friend. I feel like that'd be somewhere else in the UI, but that's where you find it. But with this, you end up getting your QR code that you can end up sharing with friends that may not have played, so you can end up getting those rewards of like double XP, weapon blueprints, and all things like that. But it also allows you to open up the browser, which if you're on console is pretty dang sluggish. It's not a great layout here for this and how you control it, but that's something that was added in as well with this update. Now, beyond that, we also saw finally something that I think should have been there since the game's launch, but has been progressively added onto, that being the in-game identifier for completing camo challenges. Previously, at the very start of the game, you just had that sort of chalice with no notification. It just popped up and you realized, okay, I got a camo challenge done, but it didn't tell you what it was, didn't tell you what camo it was, didn't show you anything like that. Then we ended up getting a banner that showed that you completed a challenge, not necessarily just the challenge chalice at that point, but it still didn't give you really much information. Then we saw again a progressive unlock where it showed you what challenge it was, but just the text of it and just that sort of banner that would pop up in game. But now finally you end up seeing this where once you complete the challenge, it shows you what challenge it is, it shows you what the criteria of said challenge was, and the icon of, say, the camo you ended up completing. So definitely something that, again, I think is nice that it's finally in, but kind of surprised that it hasn't been there since launch. That's kind of a basic UI element for the games, if you ask me. But anyways, added in under the radar here at this, we also now see that we have new attachment blueprint markers. So while the ability to change said skin of an attachment, certain attachments in your builds, was not something that was new, we now have a new paintbrush icon that for quick use and scrolling past, it can show you, hey, I have an alternate version of this attachment that may look better or worse with the camo aesthetic associated with it. So that's something that, again, is just added in under the radar, a little more inconsequential, but something that was added no less. One thing that is nice, though, in regards to user interface elements is that of the new changes to the tuning. We now see icons pointing above or below, in which that's something that indicates it does better for that attribute or worse, and also in varying increments. You can have one icon or two if it heavily favors or does not favor said attribute of the weapon, depending on how you end up tuning it, and it's something that, again, is just making it a bit easier to visually recognize those changes made to the weapon. I'm okay with with that change in particular. However, unfortunately, it is something that right now tuning in particular seems to be bugged. I've seen plenty of cases, had it happen to my friends, even myself, where some certain attachments, whenever you tune them, it completely invalidates the weapon, where if you spawn into BR, you pick it up out of a loadout drop, or you infill in DMZ, it just does not allow you to have that weapon. It just shows your fists. So something that should hopefully be fixed out, but something to be aware of no less. We also saw in the shop, we have now previews of tracers and death effects, which are definitely nice, because that's something that if you didn't have any of those on hand and you wanted a weapon or a bundle or something like that because of the death effects or the tracers, you kind of had to play this guessing game where you might not like it, you might like it, but you didn't know until you bought it. Now, thankfully, that's no longer the case. You can check those out just from the store. Finally, in terms of UI changes, we also saw a new mode identifier in-game next to the score, in-game actually showing you if you're playing ground war, hardpoint, kill confirm, team deathmatch, domination, something that, again, is kind of a no-brainer once you're actually in the game, but it is something that was added in no less. Beyond that, we saw gameplay and reward changes where Polyatomic seems to have had another slight adjustment to some guns, maybe all, but right now I've seen reports where players have definitely noticed it, and myself, I've noticed it here and there a little bit, where it seems to be now a cross between the animated and previous versions of Polyatomic, where it now has a bit more of that matte gray texture, but also still has the animation going with it. Additionally, one cool thing here in regards to rewards was the Grand Mastery weapon charm is now available with DLC weapons to be completed. Previously, you could only end up getting that Grand Mastery weapon charm with the weapons from launch, those base 51 weapons from when the game first shipped. Now you can end up using your weapons from DLC to end up going towards that 51 total as well. So definitely nice. And one that I'm definitely gonna need to double check here on this, but I've seen reports, is that now Ghost is no longer disabled by suppressed weapons, where previously from launch up until seemingly season 3, that was something where firing your suppressed weapon gave away your position on the minimap. So something that completely nullifies the use of suppressors as well as the Ghost perk. So obviously something that needed to be fixed, and seemingly now may have actually finally been, which is definitely nice. Now beyond that, there are a few other ones that I don't really classify as good changes. We talked about the one recently where shop bundles now grant additional active duty slots in DMZ, 15-minute insured weapon cooldowns, as well as other things like a 2-plate vest, a UAV, and self-revive coming on the way. That I'm not a huge fan of by any means. I am not cool with that, but we've talked about that, said my piece. Don't want to harp too much on it and take away from the rest of the video. But also, if you are somebody that liked the rock and roll war track, that was apparently removed altogether, featuring songs like Faint from Linkin Park, Last Resort from Papa Roach, and Mr. Brightside from The Killers. That apparently was taken out of the game, I would assume for licensing reasons, which just kind of comes back down to how many licensing issues are we going to have with this game. We had multiple maps already in hot water because of licensing issues. So like, I just don't know how we're still having this problem now 6 months into the game. But anyways, that was a change made no less. Now, those were your changes here that were made to the game that either added something of value or in some cases removed things of value. But let's also talk about the fact that there are a lot of inadvertent changes, bugs, problems, things that as of the time of recording this, that being a combination of the day of update and the day after update, when this goes live, I'll be out of town. So if they are fixed out, that's great. But as the time of recording this, we had a few things that were definitely broken and very apparent. Firstly, the ranks on the scoreboard were entirely broken. Those show up off of the sort of UI element where it's supposed to show players' stats and everything. Ground war lobbies just were not populating day one of launch, and maybe even still as of now. I was playing in matches that were on large scale maps, Rohan Oil, 13v13, but also saw a Reddit post where some were starting 2v2 in ground war, a 2v2, a gunfight match, but on the largest maps imaginable. We also saw that Warzone server stability was, to put it nicely, abysmal. Also coupled with that, latency on day one, at least day two as well, was an absolute lie. You'd see 1 millisecond to 4 millisecond ping, but it was much higher based off of game performance. You would be flip booking around the map, so it was definitely something that was bugged, not showing the proper values. Gromsko as an operator, many players have reported that if you unlocked him, he's now relocked and you have the task to do the Spec Ops mission to unlock him once again, even if you already did. So hopefully that's fixed out and re-granted to players. The kill feed in Warzone did not show up or act properly half the time whenever you played it. There were tons of performance issues that I've seen across the board, like tons of lost FPS on PC in particular. I'm talking like 20 to maybe 60 FPS depending on your system. Camo chat challenges for the new weapons were not tracking. That seems to be something that happens every single update, unfortunately. Day 1, Ranked had Fortress Control in the rotation. Previously it was removed for Expo Control because it was not a balanced map by any means for Control. And then finally, weapons again were disappearing in loadouts and DMZ infills. So that's something that, of course, we're going to have bugs that happen with every single one, but there were definitely some really big gameplay performance bugs and issues as of launch with Season 3. So that said, that is the couple dozen changes here that were made under the radar for better or for worse with Season 3, some of which may be being fixed out by now, but again, as of recording this, unfortunately out of town by the time this goes live, they're still persisting at this moment for me. You, maybe not so much. But anyways, drop your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of these changes? Good, bad, net negative, net positive for these stealth changes? Of course, some of the stuff we've already talked about, there definitely are issues with the season, but let me know your thoughts down below. Before we wrap everything up though, make sure to check out my friends over at Gamer Advantage, the best blue light glasses on the market if you ask me. I've raved about them since day one, and I truly think that they have helped my daily productivity with the most comfortable, lightweight, and durable frames on the market. Plus, their lenses are clinically proven. If you guys want to learn more about the clinical studies, the science behind it all, links down in the description below. But if you guys want to pick something up for yourself, invest in your vision health, use code ESPRESSO to get yourself 10% off your entire order. Again, linked below. But for now, that's what we're gonna call it. So drop your thoughts once more. If you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and anything COD related. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is ESPRESSO. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.